So the biggest thing, if I were to sum up my dad, the 35 years that he drove the bus, picked up kids that no one else wanted, literally went, the people who lived on top of the bar, the people who lived on top of the funeral homes, the people who you'd find passed out on their lawns, when you drive the bus up to them, he'd pick them up. He loved those kids. It never mattered to him where he came from. He wanted them to get where they needed to go. He wanted them to connect with Jesus in a personal way. And the one thing that I can always remember is my dad was the one guy who would just get out there and do it. He was that one man. He wasn't the pastor of the church. He wasn't our youth pastor. He didn't run the children's department. He was the janitor. We were literally on these little city streets. You had to stop every block. And if you've ever been in a little old town, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You had to stop at every block. And he knew that was the situation. And he would just pack them in there because he would say, what one kid am I going to leave off the bus? Who deserves not to hear the gospel today? And I think we could do a lot with that attitude.
My name is Louis C. Haskell. I was born in Terre Haute, Indiana. They had 335 Voorhees in a house next door to my grandmother's house, or across from the glass factory years ago in 1939, in April the 22nd. When I graduated from high school, I worked as a tree trimmer, but I felt like the Lord wanted me in the Army. They were going to draft me, so I put my name up on the draft, and they said they'd take me the next day, next month, on November the 2nd, so they took me November 2nd in 1960, and I went overseas to Okinawa, and I was on a little island called Tokashiki. I never want to be on a little island again the rest of my life. The Lord was with me and watched out for me when I was overseas. What got me was when I was overseas, men would say, well, God ain't here, and we can do what we want to do. And the Lord's with us no matter where we're at. It don't make any difference if we're over in Okinawa or wherever. The Lord's with us, and we got to do what the Lord wants us to do, because that's all I got to say. I accept the Lord as my personal Savior in my house I'm living in now, back when I was about 9 years old. But the only thing I got to say, all my life, I felt like I need to do what the Lord wanted me to do, not what I wanted to do. That's the only thing that's important to me in life, is do what the Lord wants me to do. Because when I got out of the Army, what got me was I was going to Bible Center, and there was a guy that was a janitor, Rose Pie. And when you get out of the Army, you don't want to be a janitor, Rose Pie. You want to work at Strand Steel or other places. There was a whole bunch of other places. I put in my application, but what got me was this man, Rose Pie, kept after me. So I says, okay, I'll put an application in. Whatever door opens up, I know that's where the Lord wants me. But guess what? Rose Polly called me 1 week before any of the other people did. And all the other people called me the next week. And I said, because I told the Lord to take the first one to call me. And the Lord had a purpose in me being a janitor at Rose Poly, because I was a janitor for a year and a half at Rose Poly. And then Bible Center wanted me as a full-time janitor. So I went there at 64. Well, all I wanted was the Lord's will, okay? And I felt like since the Lord opened that door, I need to learn all about being a janitor. In one way, I wanted to be the janitor at Bible Center a year or two before, but when it was in the service, I wanted to have a job as janitor at Bible Center, but the Lord opened me Rose Pie to teach me how to be a janitor. Do you understand what I'm saying? All I got to say, they taught me how to scrub floors and everything. And what got me, I was working at Rose Poly, and Bible Center was going to have a big conference at the church, and it was about 500 people, and our auditorium was filthy. So I asked Rose Poly to let me have a bumper and a vacuum to clean it up, and they said, sure, you can do it. And Crazy Me went in there one night, and I scrubbed the whole auditorium. That's all I got to say. And that's the reason the Lord wanted me in Rose Pie, to show Bible Center what kind of equipment they need to do the janitor's job. Well, they would fill up the garage with 25 tons of coal, and they had made a big hopper that took a half a ton of coal to fill it, and you had to throw it over your head into the hopper. And I've seen Sunday burn a half a ton of coal in the auditorium furnace. And then we had two other buildings that had stokers, and I'd have to fill them up every Sunday afternoon. And it was a full-time job. What got me started in the bus business, we had a new pastor and he said, we're going to have day vacation Bible school in 2 months. And he come to me and he said, I want you to drive a bus and pick up kids. And a lot of people in the church said, we'll get kids for you. So I said, okay. And a lot of our people lived in West Terre Haute in the country. So I went, loaded up a bus and brought it in for day vacation Bible school. And I'd have a full bus every time I come in. And when I come in for the 2 weeks, then they got somebody else to fill in because they didn't want me to drive the bus during the weekends. And the guy tried it for 2 months and he gave up. He gave up the bus route. And so I went to the pastor and I said, I want to have that bus route. And I went to him 5 different weeks and asked him, please let me have that bus route. He says, you got too much work on Sunday to have a bus route. So I finally gave up and let me have a bus route. He says, there's a van, go fill it. So I went out and I run it from September to December. And the second week in December, I came in with a 12-passenger van with 26 on the van. And the pastor didn't say anything to me, but he got the guy that head of the bus ministry, and they only had 10 or 12 in the town, and they said, give him that bus, and they gave me a big bus. I wanted a bus route so bad because I had a feeling we needed to reach boys and girls for the Lord. And our Sunday school wasn't doing anything, and I wanted to get the Sunday school built up. That's the reason I wanted the bus route. What got me was we would pick up kids in Terre Haute, and Kid Avenue was the drug route where people bought drugs. But what got me was I would come in with about overloaded, about 10 or 15 kids overloaded because I go on Kid Avenue. But what got me was when I hit Kid Avenue, they made sure my bus got through. Even though the people were taking drugs on that same route, they would let me pick up their kids for water. And that's what got me, was because they were taking drugs and they were on their way to hell. And what got me was, one man told me he's ready to go to hell. And that got me. When I went into his home and talked to him about his kids and everything, I said, I want you to go to heaven. He said, I'm ready to go to hell. And that really struck me bad. Drove the bus for 30 years. And what got me was a lot of times was the only person on the bus. The deacons got mad at me because I came in with the bus overloaded. They said, the next week I'm going to be riding the bus with you. They rode the bus once, and they would never ride the bus again because I was overloaded with the kids, and they said, we ain't gonna have no part of that bus. And I was the only adult on the bus, but the other deacons would get on the bus with me. All these kids that picked up, no matter what route I had several routes. I had a route where the parents would go to the tavern. I'd pick up their kids, but they knew when this Terre Haute, they would all be in the tavern. And when my bus would hit the country roads, they would be traveling the country roads because back then was snow and ice on the road. And I'll never forget, I had a bus load of kids and was on the old Paris Road, and my bus got stuck, and one of the parents had one ton truck, and he hooked onto my bus and pulled my bus out. And the kids, the parents had just came from the tavern, and the parents said, we'll take our kids. And the kids said, no, we're going to ride with Louie home. So I had to take them on home. But they always loved being on my bus. Now, I don't know why, but the Lord gave me a love for the kids, and the kids knew I loved them. When I went into one of the parents' homes, they lived in Liggett, and they had dirt floors for their home. I went into the front room, and the mother showed me the 23rd kid that she just had. she had 23 kids with dirt floors. And they were really poor and everything. They said they were having a picnic for all the Sunday school picnic and everything. So I went and picked up my kids for the picnic, and I took them to where the picnic was. It was a state park in Illinois. And we went in there, and the parents came out and said, "We don't have food," and I had 45 kids on my bus. So me and my wife took every dime we had, went to the grocery store, bought all the food we could buy, and came back, and one of them gave us what food they had. That's what we did for the picnic. Because I felt like they don't get a good meal at home. Why should I take care of them? Me and my wife took everything we could to help them. And that's all I got to say. We did everything we could to reach out to the ones we could reach out to. Because I felt led to do it. Because I felt like the Lord wanted me to do it. But this is what gets me, is some ministers don't see the need to reach out to people like that. They don't see the need to do things like that. Well, after Alan was born, he was born on a Saturday night. The next Sunday morning, I had the bus, and Barbara brought Alan with me on the bus, and he was with us all the time. And he helped me do things, helped me work with the kids. That's the reason I think he's in the ministry today, really. Yeah, I came home from the grocery store, and I was at 13th and Locust, and my chest hurt so bad I had to push against the truck cab so I could drive home. On a Saturday night, my wife said, "You're going to the hospital." And I said, "No, I ain't." And I went and drove the bus the next day and got the kids and came home, and we always went out to eat on Sunday because by the time I got the bus route done, it would be 1:30, and by the time we got that done, we go out and eat, and we were going to a grocery store that afternoon, and I turned ghost white in the grocery store, and Barbara said, "You're going to the hospital." I went to the hospital, and here I drove the bus that day. People can't get over the fact that I could go out to eat and somebody secretly will pay for my meal. That happened several times, and so many people don't understand. But I feel like because of all the things I've done through my life, that they just want to pay for my meal, and they just do it for me. All I got to say is, I hope you're right with the Lord. I want to see you in heaven. But what bothers me is some of the kids, we tried everything in the world to turn them around, and they ended up in jail and in prison. And that really bothers me, you know, because we tried every way in the world to get him right with the Lord. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just, crazy me is always pushed. Just like my cancer doctor today says, do you want to keep going? And I says, absolutely. And my wife says, absolutely. Why do I want to lay down now? Why do I want to quit now? And people in church, they say, you look real good. But my cancer doctor said, do you want to keep going? Sure, I want to keep going. I want to keep going as long as I can. I want to be at church every time I can. I missed 2 services in the last, that's only 2 services in over 5 years I missed. But I don't know why people say you're a blessing to my church, because I don't see, I'm just there. I want to worship the Lord. I want to encourage people to do things for the Lord. That's the only thing I want to do. Doctors don't believe I'm still living. They say, they told me 9 months ago that I could give up, but I said, I'm not giving up. And they said, okay, we'll treat you. But my doctors don't see how I'm living this long. But I feel like the Lord has given me this long to live so that I can live for the Lord. That's all I got to say. I just hope that the Lord can be glorified in what I try to do for Him.
After being faithful all those years, that when you ended up with colon cancer, did that feel like it was unfair?
No, not really. The Lord lets us go through things that, like in the Bible, different people went through hard times, even though they were doing things for the Lord all their life. Like I worked for the church for 30 years, it didn't make any difference because the Lord took care of me. I realized I lived longer than most doctors think I should.
Let me be filled with kindness and compassion for the one in whom you love and gave yourself for humanity. Increase my love. Help me to love with open arms like you do. A love that erases all the lines and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see you. Even in just a smile, they would feel the Father's love. 'Cause oh, how you love us. From the homeless to the famous and in between.